And we're back with the question and answer session, or the After Dark section of the Captain's Table podcast, where we take questions from the chat, which can be spicy and very not safe for work. So you have to be careful with that. So if you're listening to this on the way to work, just make sure you have your headphones in. Or you're at work, make sure you have headphones in. But we talked about the state of combat in the game now, where it will be in 2026, and the future of combat, space combat, and Star Citizen. Great discussion. I'll leave the link above Bops's head for those of you who are watching this on YouTube to click that link and go watch it. Of course, go and check out Don't Stop Bops on Twitch and YouTube, and Raptor X Gaming.
Twitch and YouTube.
Twitch and
Good Clean
YouTube.
Gaming RX and Raptor X Games.
Yeah, on Twitch and YouTube. So check that out there. All right, let's get started with the first question. The first question is from Parker XGPS, who asks, question, what is or are the biggest issues with Argo marketing for defense purposes, or defending one's self against a CS? Are obvious problems to resolve? Are there obvious problems to resolve? I think he's not talking about Argo marking.
You want to read that again?
Yeah. So what is or are the biggest issues with Argo marking for defense? Maybe aggro marking.
Oh, aggro marking. Yeah.
Or defending oneself and getting a CS. Are there obvious?
There we go.
I see what he's saying. So what he's saying is, if you're in Stanton in comms areas at the moment and you get attacked by someone, sometimes it won't mark them as aggro. So even though they've shot you first, you turn and fire on them, and you become the aggressor, and you get the auto report. And right now, I think auto report is toggled on by default. So
yes.
Even if the other person doesn't want to report you, it automatically reports you. I don't know what the problems are. I can tell you that it is a problem. There is a reason that I will sit there and kill 56 people in Pyro instead of in Stanton. It's because in Stanton, I end up with a crime stat, even if I am the good guy. And then I end up in prison for 24. And last time I hung out with expat Brat, she put me in prison for 24 hours. Because I was stupid enough to go to Stanton. She got me into too much trouble. So there are issues with aggro marking, and it needs to be addressed, but I'm not sure what the issues are.
My solution has always been require people to report the aggression, and then have the game decide on its own if it's aggression or not. And so meaning like, if you get jumped in the middle of deep space, no one's going to get a mark unless you have identified the target that's attacking you and have that information. So once you maybe automatically, once you scanned and got that information, if you die, or maybe you survive, maybe you escape, you have to get to a security post and say, I'd like to report this crime happening, and here's the information. So if you die, maybe you automatically can do it, but you have to report it, and that process requires validation of some kind, or some step process. So maybe the person can defend themselves or report. I know I'm not talking about an actual player or CIG doing a court system. I'm just talking about a process that needs to be done, so it's not an automatic process. You'll still have people abusing it, because I think that there's no simple solution to the problem. But I do think making it a pain in the ass will reduce a lot of the problems, because people will have to remember to do that, and that's going to have to take time and effort to do that in the first place. And if you're doing that, and if you are a hostile player, you have to defend, and you have to report somebody. If you're already a criminal because you've attacked NPCs or doing something, you're not showing up to go report somebody, because you're going to jail. So if you're already a bad guy, you can't report somebody. So it means that only people who aren't already
legitimate
wanted.
Concerns.
Yeah.
I fly around with a good guy org. I'm not in an org myself. I have my regulators, which is a bunch of people who fly with me in Pyro
Mhm.
when I'm doing Prowler of Pyro gameplay. But there is an amazing org. I want to give them a shout out while I'm here. They go by the name of FSS. They're the good guy org in the Australian region, Australian and SEA. So if you're ever under attack in Asian servers or Australian servers, or there's crims that need to be dealt with, write it into the global, because if I don't come to sort them out, FSS will. They're really good eggs. But what I was going to say is it's really annoying when we decide, okay, we're going to do some lockdown gameplay, or we're going to go hunt. We call them Clan Soy. I can't remember what the actual clan's name, but it's the bad guy org in Australia.
Mhm.
We go and hunt them, and so we jump in formation. I'll jump in with FSS to support them as a merc with them, and we initiate the fight because we want the surprise attack. So I'll go screaming in with a interceptor or a saber raven to get the jump on one of these pirates. But this particular pirate hasn't got a crime stat yet because he hasn't killed anyone. He's just disabled 20 vultures that have flown through, and someone else has got the kill. So I jump in first, initiate, kill the pirate, and then I end up with a crime stat, even though I'm here to work with the good guys to sort these pirates out. So it's an issue. It's a known issue. I don't know how they fix it. I don't know. Maybe if you're in party with someone who's a criminal,
You
then you're all
automatically,
designated criminals
yeah.
or something. But then they just don't join parties together, and like there's ways ways for it to be exploited.
There's a great solution to this, which is negative reputation. But CIG doesn't want to do negative reputation, and it pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
That is a rant and a half that I could go through about the lack of negative reputation, because it's simple. If you have a reporting process, which is, someone says that sounds terrible. I'm not saying you have to go like, I'm going to go fill out a form. I'm like, you survived, you have the data, you can go to, you get to a space station, you just submit
Sorry,
a
give me
report.
1 second. My dog has just vomited. 1 second. 1 second. I'll be back in just a
It's sort of fun.
So the biggest problem, I guess, that I see with a crime reporting system is that it has to be, at least with our current time to kill. It's like if I'm engaging something, especially like a vulture or a prospector or something, and I'm playing the pirate today, that prospector, that vulture, that's going to die within a minute, minute and a half, especially if I'm running a ballistic loadout, right? That's boom, dead. So if it takes them 30 seconds to report that crime, and they're trying to engage in reporting that crime while I'm engaging them, that's 30 seconds they could be. So that it needs to be something that's very, very quick and easily accessible, not something, I pull up my Moby Glass here and page through this tab and click into here. Oh, I'm being attacked by a such a. It needs to
Yeah.
be, you're under attack from so and so. Do you wish to press charges? Boop, and you press. But then it
Yeah.
also needs to be something that is not just aggression based. Like you said, it needs to have some rep attached to it, so that if you're running around and there is a known pirate in the area, and all of a sudden you come under fire, the suspicion is that the pirate is the one engaging. Or if you're running around in the area and you see a known pirate and you engage them, the assumption is you're defending yourself from someone that if you have in the real world, if you have a hostile attacker coming towards you, you're going, I need to either get away or make sure they can't hurt me before they're going to.
Yeah. And that's the problem, is that in the real world there are processes and procedures and things that you go through after that.
Yeah,
after
it's
that
not the
point.
Wild West.
Yeah, and you just don't really have that here. And what I was saying is more of like a reporting process is more of a after the fact. Like you don't worry about the fact that the in the moment like you're gonna die, but like forcing a player to scan down another player to know, oh, this player is actively fighting me. I'm scanning them down, and then taking that scan and reporting it either through survival or maybe just through regen or whatever. But it's just a process you do after the fact, post combat.
I think it goes further than that too. You mentioned reputation, and
Yeah.
I agree with you. And sorry, I got distracted for a
Yeah.
second, but it goes as far as if you have a reputation as being a criminal scum, should you even be able to report other criminals?
That's what I mean.
So yeah, so you've got the reputation of being the man dressed in black in the Wild West. Everyone knows you're the bad guy. If you bump into another bad guy and you have a duel and you get shot down, do you get to cry and say, no, report him. The police better get him when you've been gunning people down the entire time yourself. No, that's not
Yeah,
how it
no.
works. You've been tarred with the black brush, and you'll need to earn your reputation back. So I think that reputation system could entirely solve it. If I jump into, let's go back to that example I gave before, where I'm jumping in with FSS and I initiate on top of someone who hasn't got the crime stat yet, and they explode. Well, they've been killing people all week and tarnishing their reputation, so they don't get the opportunity to report me as a crim. In fact, I get their bounty paid out straight to me.
Yeah, I mean, negative reputation just means that you have done this thing in the past, and no one likes you in this lawful zone. So you're not currently a criminal, but you do have a negative reputation. So you're assumed guilty in a one-on-one situation. The game just goes, no, you're a criminal. You were a criminal.
Once a
you
felon,
had
always a
negative.
felon, sort of thing.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, is that fair? No. But it is definitely going to be the closest thing, because as long as you have the ability to pull up that negative reputation from disliked to liked, then you can do that. Does that mean people will still have those problems? Yeah, you'll still have those problems, but that's where you have a reporting system, which is like, I have this data information, and someone's like, stop shooting me, let me jot down your license plate. You should be scanning people, and if someone is attacking you, you should be scanning them. That should be an automatic reflex. You don't like video games. Let me put it this way: in MechWarrior, if I'm not hitting T to target my enemy, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're hitting T, you should be getting some information in that interactions.
And it doesn't need to be something that I have to be aiming at them and holding T for 5 seconds while the system scans them to actually get some sort of reporting. It needs to be, I'm targeting them, so I'm getting information loaded directly into my data stream just by targeting their shit.
Yeah.
This also deters people. I've talked about a situation before where you've got Johnny playing Star Citizen for the first time, and he battles with all of the bugs to get to his hangar, and then he gets to his hangar, and then the game crashes, and so he loads back in, and now he's standing in his hangar, and he summons up his vulture, and then his vulture gets purpled and disappears through the elevator. So he waits for it to respawn again, and then he gets his vulture, and then he finally flies out of the hangar, finally goes up into the atmosphere of Orison, and then he jumps to OM1, and there's pirates there that just immediately kill him, right? What's he going to do? He's going to go to his mates, and his mates say, hey, I saw you were playing that Star Citizen game. What did you think about it? He goes, oh, it was shit. I don't play that. I don't know what happened. It bugged a bunch. I died. Some AI killed me at the OM1s. He doesn't even know he's been killed by players, right?
Yeah.
I jumped somewhere, and some AI killed me. Now let's look at the other option, where he goes for that same issue, faces the same bugs, gets purpled, gets into his vulture, then he flies up to the OM1, and there's not pirates there, and he looks down at Orison and sees that beautiful planet spread out before him, and then decides this is where my adventure begins, and then jumps off to go do some salvaging on his very first salvage contract instead. Then his friend says to him, did you play that Star Citizen game? I heard it was a scam. And he goes, no. You've got to experience it. It's got a few bugs, but you've got to experience it. And it's better for our game in the long run, right? It brings more players in. It builds the reputation of our game. So we've got to find a way to get those OM campers. And I love PvP. It's all I do. I need those OM campers so I can kill them for my content and my gameplay experience. We've got to get them out of the environments where they're killing new players or preying on new players, because those new players are ultimately what's going to drive our game. And right now, they are being driven away from our game by these guys who are camping on OM1. So the aggro system definitely needs to be adjusted.
Yeah.
Well, and I think some of that, especially too in Stanton and other higher security systems, it's like if you have escalating force responses where you have, the first time you're up there shooting people at OM1, you have a couple of fighters show up that are UEE Navy or whatever, and they get trounced and sent back to regen. It's like, all right, well, they're still up there. We need to send something a little bigger and a little more dangerous. So you send in a hammerhead. Well, we're able to kick that hammerhead back to regen as well. Now the UEE Navy says, well, we've got a big crisis on our hands. So we're going to send in an Idris. We're going to send in a fighter wing with it. We're going to send in a couple of retaliator bombers, and we're going to wipe the floor with punk AI, the punk players. And that clears the area. And yes, the new player who's just jumping up there for the first time has that experience once and then has the balls to get back in and go, all right, we're going to try this one more time. It goes up there and sees the UEE Navy come flying in all its glory and just obliterate the guys. OM1 and goes, that was cool. I want to stick around and see some more of this kind of stuff. There are ways to address this sort of problem that aren't just ban these guys or just lock it down so they can't do that sort of.
We-
But there are ways to solve it that are organic.
Systemic. What you're trying about,
Systemic,
a
yeah.
systemic solution, which is just having NPC patrols. And I agree. I think something like that.
We used to.
We used to, and I think that would cause a lot of problems, or solve a lot of problems, with that sort of thing. And we talked about this a little bit before the stream, or before the podcast, and we mentioned it at the beginning of the last part. But like one of the things that I think is lacking is AI needs to feel dangerous. It needs to be scary, and it needs to be scary in ways that is unrealistic. Like we need a ace combat antagonist ace pilot that is breaking the laws of physics and is kicking the shit out of you unless you're ready and prepared to fight them. And you should have aces should feel like aces.
And they're the ones that you could send off to players that get crime stat 5s.
Yeah.
So when you've got that,
Yes.
when you've got that big crime stat, that's when that. So yes, there are missions to go fight these pilots that are as good as Avenger and Virgil and Jonathan Winters or whoever it might be, just for some fun. But then also you throw them into your crime system, and when you get to the point that you're at tier 5, some advocacy super ace is coming to take you out, and you will have to not only deal with the player pilots that are coming to bounty hunt you. But with a crime set like that, you'll have to deal with the AI that are jumping in and really, really being quite competitive.
Yeah.
So.
But it's also important to have negative reputation so you can sort some of that shit out too. That's just I'm not gonna go on a freaking rant. I significantly dislike the direction that CIG has taken with negative reputation, because they're like, we want to have everyone have access to all of the landing zones, and I'm like, that shouldn't be a thing. You shouldn't be able to land in Orison if you're persona non grata because you keep punching babies.
Yeah.
Northern Tech Trooper asks the next question. He asks, there has been a lot of focus on kinetic combat for the past couple of years. Will we see more focus on non-kinetic combat, i.e. EMPs, distortion weaponry, hacking, etc.?
Good question. I hope so. If I know you get asked this constantly, Astro, you're a Twitch streamer. What ship are you most looking forward to?
Yeah.
The answer is the Legionnaire. I cannot wait for the Legionnaire to start hacking doors and sucking onto the sides of ships. Even that minor part of it. It has a little bit more of hacking capabilities as well, I expect. But e-warfare is super, super exciting. And I have all of these players that I play with that are incredibly intelligent, problem-solving whizzes that just aren't the best with the sticks, with their flight sticks. Because I play with people. I don't just fly around with ace elite squadron guys. I play with guys who are brand new and guys who have been around for a long time. But my point is that that e-warfare enables my backline guys to have enormous amounts of impact in a combat without using the joysticks to click little green circles and circle strafe, right? So I'm really, really, really excited for it, and I think it will have more of an impact in the future. EMPs are already quite good at the moment. I've been running the Saber. If you want to see someone fly a Saber Raven like a boss, all day, every day, I can't stop flying my Saber Raven. It's really quite good this patch, so come have some fun. You'll see how EMPs are used. But I think that there is room for it to grow, and I'm very excited about the prospect of warfare in the future. Very, very, very excited. Yeah.
Raptor, your thoughts on non-lasers or like ballistics?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm also looking forward to. I mean, there was a meta, goodness, it's probably been over a year now.
Oh yeah,
A while back that they had distortion loadouts. And running a mixed distortion and laser was very powerful. And it kind of felt like distortions fell by the wayside, and well, there's no reason to have them. I think if we can, or I guess if CIG can bring about that sort of thing again, where there's a reason to run distortions, there's a reason to run railguns, there's a reason to run a plasma cannon, or have an EMP ship in your squad just because they can get on tight with a capital ship or something, and as long as they can get into that area where they're not getting hit by the turrets, shields come down and they drop that EMP and boom, it all goes down. It's like, all right, now there's a reason to have that.
Mhm.
I was reading Brimstone by Marco Marx. He does a Star Citizen short story series. And there's a specific story in there where they took a Avenger Warlock and they crammed it into the hull of a Banu merchant that they were, smuggling some stuff on. And a bunch of pirates dropped in and they detonated that EMP and fried the whole lot of the pirates. All right, good. And everything that was offline, then the ballistic turrets spin up and just, vaporize everything. It's like once we have something to counter just the ballistics or just the lasers, there's e-warfare, there's hacking, there's EMPs, that kind of stuff. I'm very much looking forward to solutions other than just laser them until they blow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's definitely room there. There's an entire role, hacker man, role. The guy who can go, I'm in.
Yep.
That whole role is still there. I think it could be easily interesting. And the more outside of just shoot you dead you can go in terms of disabling ships, taking control of ships, redirecting ships, all that sort of thing. The better you can go, I think the more you can go, the better it will be. The better.
It makes for engaging gameplay too.
Yeah.
The reason I've been using this saber is because we've been at the exact hangar. Someone comes screaming in their constellation to put their cards in and get themselves a sweet ship. Well, we'll drop their shields, hit them with the EMP, and bring their constellation to a halt. And we'll say, "Hey, you can have the ship that comes up the elevator. We've all got all the ships out of the executive hangar, but we wouldn't mind a few of the components that are in that hangar. How do you feel about making that deal with us?" So it's that chance to have that conversation. Then all of a sudden they go, "Well, I don't want to lose my cards." And I want that ship, so let's do it, whatever. So they'll fly in, they'll get their sweet spaceship, and we get to take some components as payment. So there's like conversations that can be had once you can disable a ship. Even now with engineering, there's these like stupid, I almost swore then, these stupid timers where if you disable a ship, they press a button, and in 2 minutes they start moving again. So you can't even have a conversation in 2 minutes, and that constellation is now screaming along, and it's got a red hull, and it can't be killed anymore because of the way we shot a saber. We did the math. There's a clip. If you want to go see it on my channel, where we did over 400,000 damage to a saber, 400,000 damage, and it didn't die because it just pressed a button and 30 seconds later reactivated and was unable to be killed. It's a great clip on my channel. A great clip if you want to go see it. So the point is, if you can disable ships and keep them down for 5-10 minutes, then you can have these awesome conversations. And e-warfare is the best way to keep a ship down without physically damaging the ship. So, yeah.
The question then becomes, how does CIG balance that so that you don't have a lot of griefers that go, "Oh, we're going to bring an EMP ship, and we're just going to keep this guy suppressed and keep him stuck there because he can't get away. He can't bring his ship back online and run away from us." And that's one of those things that you don't see it happen a whole lot right now because you can't do it. But as soon as we can, you're going to have that segment of the populace that go, "We can cause someone a heck of a time here, and we'll just take our EMP ship and make their life miserable." So there's got to be a counter for it as well. I was,
For
on
sure.
Spectrum earlier today or the other day, and they said that charge and drain mechanics. Once there's a way to go, "Oh, we're just going to take the multi-tool and we're going to suck that distortion off of there, and now we can get out again before that EMP can recharge and suppress it."
It's a great idea. Yeah, great idea.
All right, let's move on to the next question, which is Stakeru, who asks, "How big of a difference should high tier gear be? Like, should a low skill player have a big advantage with a high spec ship versus a highly skilled player flying a low tier ship?" We answered that a little bit. I don't think any of us want gear to determine the outcome.
No, I don't think so. I think the basic idea was that if you are a high skill pilot, you should be able to overcome the pilot who has high tier gear, basically. And that's how it will be. I promise you, even if there's a 50% damage increase on S tier Panthers, the ace pilot is still going to beat you anyway
because they can
because you
fly
haven't
better.
spent the time.
You know,
because they
They
can
can fly
apply
better.
damage.
yeah, they can fly better. They understand the ship better. All that kind of stuff. You know,
And they can deflect your damage with circle strafes and
yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Skills. Hopefully, there'll be more skills in there, and that's one of the reasons why. Against lowering the skill ceiling, and having higher skill ceiling allows for that differentiation, and that differentiation makes better gameplay. So,
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, and
um,
there already is to some degree that skill ceiling is still very much there. I had the privilege of jumping into Arena Commander the other night and playing with some of the Avenger Squadron boys. And like I said earlier, yeah, so I play mostly PvE with a little bit of PvP thrown in when there's a reason to do it. And I was able to jump in there and do some reps, probably about an hour and a half or something, and they were kicking my butt.
Yep.
All over the map. I was able to apply some damage because I do know a little bit of my way around, but it became quite clear that in an even matchup with the same ships, they were still capable of kicking my butt every single time. And I don't see a world where CIG can balance things in such a way that you can equalize the playing field so much that that skill is just gone because someone who has the dedication and the time available to get in there and really get to know the ship that they're flying and get really, really comfortable and knowing where they can exploit something that, the space dad or the person who's just a casual doesn't have that knowledge, they're always going to come out on top. And I don't think there's a way to balance that out, nor do I think there should be.
Yeah, you
But
can't
I
do it without making the game feel flat and boring. And
correct.
I agree with you. If I ever want to get humbled, I fly with a member of Shadow Moses. He's just got
Yeah.
into Shadow Moses. His name is Wertho. Hi Wertho, if you're watching. I fly with him all the time. And if I ever want to be humbled, I say Wertho, let's 1v1, and he will I'm good. He's just better.
Yep.
And he will just mop me every single day of the week. So, and do I get upset? No. And all it takes, guys, all of you out there, I'm going to do the Paul thing where I look at the camera and point. All right. All it takes is a change in your mindset. Don't look
Mm,
at these high skill players as a problem for you. Look at them as a resource because I promise you, all of us are waiting to be hired.
mm,
Every single one of us, from those in the orgs to the merc guys like me, we're waiting for you to say, "Will you defend me as I travel through Section X?" And you think we won't, but we will. Even if there is no combat, the potential thrill of just moving
mm,
along beside you while you're running your cargo run is the excitement for us. Maybe there is a fight, maybe there isn't, but we're begging for it. So don't look
mm.
at high skill pilots as something you'll never beat. Look at them as a resource. If you've got the money, you can pay more and get the better pilots, and then you become safer. You just got to
Well,
change that mindset a little bit.
and the other thing too, like a lot of those high skill pilots, they enjoy nothing more than teaching someone else to gain the
Exactly.
same
How to
skills
play.
that they have,
Yeah.
right? So it's like they're
Mm.
not only a resource to say, I'm going to hire you, but if you have a little bit of that says, I want to try out, I want to see if I can play up there with the big boys, reach out to some of these PvP orgs because they're going to go, oh, we've got a fresh, we've got a rookie in here. We can bring him in and we can show him all the tricks of the trade. We can have him in the seat with us for 10 hours or whatever. And I promise you, it doesn't take a whole lot of time with a good teacher before you have the basic skills where you can trounce 50% of the populace just because you know the basics of combat.
I'd say
It blows my
90%.
mind. Yeah, it blows
90%.
my mind sometimes
Yeah.
that you get into the verse and you go, we were holding down Brio's Breaker Yard the other day, myself and one of my org mates. Flew over there and I was flying around in Sabre. He was on the ground in blister. And it boggles my mind the number of people who fly into a situation thinking, oh, I can just land here and no one will bother me. If you have the wherewithal and the little bit of skill to go, I'm flying into a dangerous area, I'm going to hit that ping button and go, oh, there's a combat ship over there. Oh, he's got his shields up. I might want to think this could be a dangerous location. Just that little bit of instruction and training that you're gonna get within the first 10 minutes of flying with a PvP org
Mhm.
is gonna do wonders for you and keep you a lot safer if you're out there in the first
I
flying a cargo ship or a salvager.
I used to do a
I spent three hours in arena. Zippo, who's in chat now. Now
yeah.
he's quite a talented pilot because he flies with me all the time. But when I first met him, I spent 3 hours with him in Arena Commander, and the next day he was just clapping people's cheeks. And it's just these very simple things that you have to learn, and you will grow and develop. So, but yeah, point is, we are all wanting to be hired. We all want to run alongside you, supply line gamers. So
Yeah.
let us be good. Let us be aces, so we can keep you safe.
Funny you say that. I used to run about the like noticing other ships. I used to do a series on smuggling and how to smuggle in Star Citizen. And one of the rules I set out was like, if there's another ship parked at the location where you're trying to pick up or drop off something, don't be there because they will shoot you.
Come back. Yep.
If you need to, just give them a healthy distance, let them do their job and get there because you never know what somebody is going to do when they're scared. And also, that could be a trap. They could know you are going there.
That is bait.
Yeah. So, all right, there's one more. We got a bunch more questions, but this next question's from It's JoJo TV, who has been on the Captain's Table before. He's a content creator.
JoJo. Yeah.
JoJo's great.
Hi, JoJo.
Asked a good question. Should the Perseus / Hammerhead have way more HP? 1.5 million plus. Right now, the Idris railguns, size 9 and size 10 torps, and fighters delete them basically instantly. Feels wrong for a subcap combat ships for their size.
I don't think the problem was with their HP. I think the problem is with the Idris. I don't think they need to be scaled up. I think other things need to be scaled down. I think they have plenty of HP. It takes 5 or 6 fighters quite a long time to deal with a Hammerhead or a Perseus. And even other gunships engaging with them, it takes quite a long time for them to engage each other and damage each other. Sure, the Perseus mops a Hammerhead pretty quickly, but that's what it's designed to do, is engage other subcapitals.
Mm-hmm. And it's
so
size
I
5
think that
torps.
maybe
It's not size 9s, so 10s.
Yeah, size 5 torps and size 8 guns or something on it as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think sure the Polaris torpedoes should be doing huge damage to something like a Hammerhead or a Perseus, but like they're having a solo manned 15 million HP. That's how much HP the Idris has, in case you don't know. A solo manned 15 million HP one-shot pilot-controlled railgun. That's the problem, not the HP pool of a Hammerhead or a Perseus.
I'll add on to that I think there's also missing elements like armor, which would change some of those elements. Like armor should be able to tank those ballistic hits, like even those torpedo hits, as like ablative to pull off. So it should be able to hit them a bit more.
I think another problem too with those smaller ships is that the Perseus, I guess, also has to deal with it. Is just that the rotation speed on some of those turrets makes it extremely difficult to counter, any of that incoming missiles. If you've got a fully loaded Perseus or a fully loaded Hammerhead where you've got all those turrets crewed, they should have the ability to look at those torpedoes coming from a Polaris and go, we're just going to delete those before they get close enough to do any damage. It's the solo pilots that are flying around in their Perseus and getting deleted by a Polaris that's fully crewed. You should expect to.
Yeah.
To be effective, you need to have people in the turrets that can go, well, we see incoming danger. We're going to make sure that it never gets to the point where it can hurt us, because we're going to blow that torpedo out of space or sky or whatever, because it's fully crewed and capable of negating that damage before it becomes an issue.
All right. Next question is from Remiko, who asks, question, what is a feature you would like to see come sooner rather than later? New flight model not included. My answer is scanning, but that's just for completely different reasons. I think scanning is so important because it should be able to give you, like a scanning operator should be able to give you the details for every ship. So like if I know someone was in chat being like I didn't get the license plate number. You should be able to find somebody, like in that situation where you're flying down to an area and there's a combat ship. If you have a good scanning array or you have a good scanning on this ship, you should be able to see that combat ship before it sees you and be like, that's a trap. I'm going away. It's also important for exploration and bounty hunting and so many other things. But like just that simple, like the simplest solution, whatever Sun Tzu quote it is, where it's like the easiest fight is to not fight one in the first place when you don't have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's your thoughts, Raptor?
And also,
or go ahead, Bobs.
I was going to say, just on your thought, the being able to like scan out for pirates or scan out for people operating, and vice versa, pirates scanning for cargo and stuff long distance. Scanning's quite exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm looking forward to as well. I think personally base building,
Okay.
because it gives us a stake in the verse. Right now the biggest thing that we fight over is, a capital ship or a Hathor location, or maybe you're going out and locking down Breer's Breaker Yard or something. By the having a location on a planet that we have to defend, that provides value to us. It's not just something that we can go, oh well, I lost my base. Oh well, I'll just build another one. It has resources, it has a benefit to us. That gives us a reason to engage in combat, especially PvP, that has an actual value in game. And it's not just we're locking down OM1 for the lols. There's actually a reason to go, we're going to have, there's a fighter wing incoming. They're looking to bomb our base. We've got to scramble the fighters and make sure that we don't suffer the defeat from the torpedo bombers that are coming behind them. So having a base to defend and a base that allows us then to project power or to gather resources or whatever, I think is something that's going to make this go from a very fun but very siloed and limited, we're just doing things for the fun of it, to actually having a stake and something that we have a reason to play. It's sticky, I guess, is the game design lingo for it. A reason to come back and a reason to have a stake.
All right.
Yep.
Bobs, your
For
thoughts?
me, it's
What is yours?
It's e-warfare. The force multiplier that e-warfare is going to be is what I am most excited about. I really like the idea of the way that I can get my friends to play Star Citizen is not to say come play a spaceship game, because I've brought friends over and they sit down into the seat of an arrow and then they take off and fly and crash into something and go, this is too hard. And I go, oh look, you can learn with the mouse and keyboard, but you might need some pedals to get a little bit better,
Oh,
and
yeah.
maybe need a left-hand joystick.
Yeah.
And they all go, yeah, I'm not interested in any of that. See ya, right? If I can instead say, hey, here's the Vulcan. Can you take off, fly in a straight line, fly and land? And they go, yeah, that's easy enough. I go, sweet. All you have to do is be my backline. We come back to you to get repairs and get ammo. If I say, here's a ship, all you have to do is, we'll keep you safe. All you have to do is play your little mini game on the screen, hack their ships as they're flying around or whatever it might be. That's a much easier sell. It's as easy a sell as get into my turret gunner, because you'll get their butts into the seat of a turret gunner for a little while, but after a while they go, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. What else does this game have? E-warfare and supply line gameplay like Vulcans and like repair ships, carrier gameplay. That's the sort of stuff that's really, really going to drag people who aren't interested in being a elite super pilot ace chad into the game. So yeah, I'm really excited for e-warfare, really. And also I happen to play with a bunch of guys who are like ground team guys. Speaking of you, Officer Data, if you're out there, and I can't wait to suck onto the side of the ship with a Legion and watch my ground team go. I'm so excited to watch them just clean. I don't have to even get out of the seat, my pilot seat, and I know that whole Idris is dead, because they're gonna just gonna clean it. It's very exciting to me. Very exciting.
I'm looking for the tactical fleet ops as well. Tactical fleet ops where we talked about roles earlier. Like every single ship has a role, every single person has a role, and everyone's doing it so that they can survive. And give me some pressure, CIG. Give me some danger. It's within range. Yeah. Within reason, obviously, with like the bugs and such, but. Oh, this is a fun question. Daft Zippo asks, Bops, can we get Paul as a bad guy on our D&D table? That was for my impression of evil Yogi. No, this is my treasure. You cannot have it.
You're welcome at our table anytime, Paul.
Yeah,
so you come on down anytime.
You can be careful. Be careful. It might actually show up. Uh,
Uh,
Gearsamp asks, question, how do you see NPC crews impacting medium-sized combat? Like non-capital class. Talking like freelancers.
Yeah, freelancers, retaliators, and that sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest impact that they're going to have is in the role of turret gun. The biggest reason that I don't take out the retaliator bomber
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that I've got to convince 4 people to sit in those turrets, and then I've got to have a torpedo operator, or if I can, fire those from. It's been since I've been in one, but fire those from the captain's seat. And more often than not, they're interested in running a Polaris because they've got more capabilities. They've got more cargo room. They've got better weapons on it. You can launch stuff out of the hangar at the top of it. And so I think for those ships that are designed for large crew complements, more than 2, but don't have the importance, I suppose, that is currently placed on things like the Idris and the Polaris, having an NPC crew on there that you can go, all right, I'm going to put you in the underneath turret back there because no one wants to be on the underside because you never actually get any hits. But I can stick an NPC back there and I can run myself in the pilot seat, and I can run a couple NPCs in there. All of a sudden, I've got a force multiplier that I can bring into a fight with myself and a couple other buddies that are running my light fighters. And it all of a sudden makes those ships more viable because you don't have the threat of losing all of your player characters in those ships that are a little bit more squishy in a large capital fleet engagement.
All right.
Like if you lose an NPC, it's like, oh well.
Yeah, I don't care. He's dead. Whatever. Boss,
Woohoo.
your thoughts on the medium ships with
um,
NPCs? I have my thoughts,
this
but
is
no one's gonna like my thoughts.
no one's gonna like my thoughts. I'm sorry to everyone who this really triggers, and I know it will, and I'm so sorry.
Do it. Touch the third
Um,
rail. Touch it. I know you want to.
I th- I think that NPCs will be the death of this game, and I hope they never bring them to it. I hope they are never ever brought to the game.
I mean,
I sympathize, but I think they're still coming.
Well-
I think they're still coming. I just think it'll kill the game in awful ways. And I think that for a game that's multiplayer, to be able to replace that multiplayer interactivity with an AI, I think it's even to have that thought is selfish. And I think the whole concept of NPCs is selfish gameplay. You're putting yourself above everyone else. You're not engaging with the community. You think that you can fly your ship around with a bunch of NPCs in it and have an advantage over someone who doesn't. All of it. I don't care if they say, oh, they won't be as good as a real pilot in the seat, but that's not going to change things for people. People are still just going to run mass NPCs and stop interacting with each other, and the game becomes more isolated than a toxic environment, and it's already becoming more and more toxic. So I'd really like to see them never bring them to the game, but they will. So
Yeah. I think the only way that they can balance those is to have them wildly expensive and very underpowered compared to a real player.
yeah, I call it touching the third rail because it's one of those things where whenever I bring it up, I get a cavalcade of comments in the YouTube chat, in the YouTube comments, which are just, a content creator who can have friends at any moment has got an opinion on us who don't have friends, who can't get an AI, who want AI. Of course, you want to destroy this game because you want to, like, people take it like we're personally climbing through their screens and punching them when we say these sorts of things. And I will say, I don't think that NPCs have a role in the game as player accessories. And I think that it's going to end up being an issue that does not involve the gameplay as much as it is assets and the cost of running the game. Because an NPC that is always on and running around your ship has to be known by the server, it has to be actively simulated by the server, and it has to actively interact with you and your ship. All of those things cost resources, they cost upkeep, and there's going to be a lot of errors that are going to flop out of that thing over the course of the longer it's there. So you can imagine how Star Citizen sort of chugs along as the longer you play the game.
How long until we even have the tech to do that? Paul, do you
Post
think that
1.0.
there's going to
It's post 1.0.
let's say there's a million. Let's say we have a million players playing.
Yeah.
And let's say 500,000 of them have Idrises because that's about the numbers. It's the most popular ship in the game from what I can see, besides maybe the Aurora. And so every single one of those has what AI walking around using complicated algorithms to engineer and move around the ship, and then also AI seated in seats in their as crew in the bridge, and then AI in the turrets, all specifically aiming, and not just for one Idris, for 100 Idrises, 200, 1,000, 200,000 Idrises, Polarises, Corsairs, the nav mesh that the AI has to use to even move around those ships. Technology's not there, guys. We can't do that right now. We literally, you got to be realistic. Human technology at where it is right now can't emulate that sophisticated AI across hundreds of thousands of ships across a consistently moving universe.
Yeah.
It's across servers. We're just not there yet.
In a single player game, sure, like the X series can do that sort of thing, but because it's only simulating you in your cockpit in your area, and it's got everything else streamed out. But on top of that, it's like the issue comes.
X is great, by the way. Good game.
Yes, it's a great game. X4 is really good. If you get it on sale, you can get it. It's an amazing game to get, especially if there are those people who want like hyper complicated stuff. You can build entire empires. You just basically set your own rules with it. It's a sandbox game of sandbox games, and they even hired Star Citizen's former flight guy to update their flight system.
Yeah. That's when I picked it up. Actually, was when he moved over there. Still haven't played it.
Now, I do want to say that this isn't the same thing as AI Blades. I do think that AI Blades have a place in Star Citizen because they're
fine.
Because they use resources, they'll use power, and then generate heat, and they'll be simplistic. I think that's an easier thing for them to simulate because it already simulates that. Like if you ever go into a ship or you fight a ship, there's very rarely an actual NPC in those gunners. They're usually just empty and they just simulate shooting you. And if there are, it's like they're stuck in the seat, not. And
I think that's, and I think that's something that they'll be able to do. It's like if I'm containing an Idris, I'm in the bridge. If I have 50 NPCs running around my ship, I can really just have them all running in the background. There's no need for them to be visualized and running around in their CIG can do their magic where they just go, I've got a NPC body in each of these ships so that the light fighters that are getting close and peering into the turrets go, oh, there's actually a player character in there, or an NPC in there. And anything that they can't see from the outside and I can't see from the cockpit doesn't actually have to be visualized. And it's something that they, subsumption logic that they mentioned a while ago, that they just go, if it doesn't need to be physicalized, it won't be. And it's just something that is running in the background. And all CIG has to go is a railgun shot comes through the bulkhead, and there's an NPC there, and the computer goes, oh, that one's dead, and take him out of the simulation. But he doesn't have to be physically walking around. We don't have to have the physical calculations. We don't have to have pathing logic. We just have to have something that says, oh, there's an NPC there.
Yeah, I get that.
Because I can't see it. You can't see it.
But at the same time, you may have to be able to see it. So it really depends on like the streaming in, streaming out.
Correct. Streaming in, streaming out technology.
And also, how well will that NPC react under pressure? Because again, there's the data issues, and then there's the performance issues. If they either make them incredible, in which no one will ever have a multi-crew, they'll all just use AI because that's what will happen. People will min-max the AI shit all the time. Or they're completely useless, and then you're going to complain that you have completely useless AI that you can't really rely on at all to do anything. I'm sorry to keep coming back to MechWarrior, but MechWarrior 5's got a problem. Its teammate AI sucks ass. Your AI friends that are supposed to be on your in your Lance, when you play the game will shoot you in the back for stupid no reason, will stare at enemies and not fire at them. They are really stupid. And like,
and that's in an offline game.
Yeah. And that's to the point where players have made
Mind
mods
you,
to
sorry,
improve them.
just as a quick joke, Astro, I will say that my player allies in MechWarrior Online have shot me in the back just as much as the AI in MechWarrior 5.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's just as much friendly fire when you're with players as well. Unbelievable.
But like, it gets to the point where like a lot of people just say, play it with other players or download a mod to fix those issues. And that's an offline game where like the balance isn't set properly. So it's going to be a lot of work to get that to work in the first place. And at some point, it's like CIG is already going to release this post 1.0. This is not a 1.0 feature. This is after 1.0. At what point does CIG sit down and go, is this juice worth the squeeze? It's not going to be in 1.0 release. So like, by that point, it's more of a people get used to playing the game, people get used to playing the multiplayer aspect of things. I think that's probably the secret reason why NPCs aren't being prioritized, is because they don't want players to rely on them as crutches, and so they're trying to develop systems to encourage players to play with each other rather than play on their own, and slowly ease them into the idea of doing multi-crew gameplay together and making that advantage, so that by the time they get to the point where like, well, we technically have to release an NPC update, so we'll work on it. But by that point, players will be like, "Oh, this guy sucks." Like an average starter player knows better than this freaking NPC, so let's just get an average starter player, But we'll see. How does that affect passenger gameplays? NPCs just sit. I mean, yeah, there's a difference. Is that a passenger in like a NPC passenger ship, like a Genesis? Genesis. They walk on, they sit down, and you fly. That's it. They just sit there. They don't do anything.
I think you load passengers on with the grav gun. And you lock them into the cargo.
Sit there and don't move.
All right. And that's also the difference between an AI you're expecting to do complex engineering versus that's why like an AI in a gunner slot. It's like as Raptor said, who gives a shit? It's just a living, breathing AI blade. This is what an NPC is. You don't have to feed them energy. You have to feed them crews to keep them from dying. But I also think that kind of cheapens the process too, when you just like feed the NPC the shittiest food we have and stick them in there. It's like, that's okay. Like,
well, it's not a whole lot different than some orgs will inevitably do, where they just bring their brand new players and say, "Here, you sit in a turret and do the job that nobody else wants to do."
Yeah, but then those
we'll
players
give you a stipend of cruise lux, and you
but
a little bit of rock.
That player needs money and reputation and other things like that, so they're going to actually have to take some of that stuff. So, and people are talking about crew morale and happiness stats, but at that point, it's like, really, we're going to go that in depth with NPCs? We're going to put all of this effort in for a gameplay feature that will inevitably only hit very specific player base, which are just very loud. And again, I'm not trying to ruin anybody's day when I say these sorts of things. It's more of a, first off, you all comment, and I love it that you comment because it boosts the video in the algorithm, so more people get to see it. So bless you. But I will touch the third rail intentionally, and even in the title, just to get people to like interact with it, because they never watch the video. They just go, But
that's what it's that clickbait. That's why I called my video "Why You Hate Hideo Kojima."
Yes,
because it's just so people go, "What do you mean I hate Hideo Kojima?"
Yeah.
Click straight in.
When I actually have the conversations, though, it's more about like, I would much prefer the time and energy and resources be put into the game that is already being made than for a feature which inevitably doesn't seem to function well or matter that much in the scheme of things.
Have you seen all of them going?
Yeah. Fun fact: I think the reason why they do that is when a player backspaces in the middle of a place, the AI thinks they've been shot. So they treat it as if there's been violence happening. So the NPCs will go, ah, and then the guards will just start running around looking for people to shoot because
There's a dead player here.
yeah. All right, here's a good question. Steve That Answer asks, do you feel crafting should have a licensing fee to make the item comparable to a shop pricing? I say no.
Yeah.
You say yeah?
Licensing fee, as in like each piece that you make has an inbuilt cost, just as
Yeah, so
a license.
if you're building an S tier Panther, you have
Mm,
to pay Klaus and Werner, some money to be able to
100,000 or whatever to be able to
yeah.
make it. Ooh.
Reduces the profits that people can make on it.
Yeah.
Makes those orgs not be able to mass produce them
Mhm.
without I mean I don't see a
Puts in the
problem with
money
it, but
sink.
I'm not
What
I'm not a crafting guy,
my,
so
my only
I don't
thought
know.
is
I don't know.
if I'm a hermit in the hills of Bloom with my shotgun and my army of NPC slaves who are crafting all of these things for me because I can tell them what to do. Why should I have to pay imperial registry fees for a company I don't give a shit about that I just happen to have the blueprints for? That's there's that
Yeah.
that's the joke answer. The serious answer is that should be an upfront thing. When you have the
Yeah.
when you have the blueprints, you have to pay something, or especially if it's
Yeah.
legitimate.
Or it might very well be the cost of listing them on the player market.
Yeah.
It's like if
Yeah,
you're going to
like
put it on this thing that says, here, I'm going to put it on so that anyone can come and purchase it from my little store here. Well, part of the cost of listing it on that store is you're going to pay a listing fee of $20,000 per item,
Yeah.
or
they
per special weapon.
they do that in Tarkov, and it actually scales as well. So if you're taking something that in game isn't worth much, but the metaphysical aspect of it is worth something. So, for example, in Tarkov, you get these key cards that open very specific doors with loot in them. Really, it's just a little piece of plastic. So if you try and sell it to an in-game vendor, it's worth like $10, right? But its value to a player could be 40 million, 50 million, 60 million. So if you're taking that low value item and putting it up for 50 million, you have to pay a much bigger fee because the game knows that it's not actually worth that much in the game. So my point being that, like, if you're taking a CF repeater that's S tier and you're putting it up for triple the price, well, it's going to charge you more because the game sort of knows. But yeah,
Yeah.
I like the idea. I like the idea of the fee to list it. I think that's probably it works in other games. Not just in Tarkov. It works in pretty much every game with the player market. You pay a fee to list the item for sale, not to make the item. And I think that's a better way to do it.
And that way
Yeah.
too, if you have like a direct player-to-player trading where it's like, all right, I'm going to put in the effort to go and meet Bops over here at his special crafting area and say, hey, I want to buy this S tier thing. We've got to get on at the same time. We've got to go to the same location. He's got to pass me this thing. I've got to transfer the money to him. You get past that listing fee, but it costs you the time and effort to actually
The time
go
to get
there
there.
and
Yes.
make that transaction.
So the listing fee becomes basically becomes a convenience fee. It's like
Yes.
all of the unknown NPCs in the background are moving all of this stuff that you're putting into their inventory, and they got to pay all those salaries. So that's the fee that pays the salaries. So kind of it like
Yeah, for sure.
and I was gonna say like it also works if you have like you build the infrastructure to have a shop in your on your base that people can come to like, but that you don't have to have a fee anymore, but you had to build a shop on a base and have all of the solutions there that you're already investing the time and effort for that. So yeah. All right. All right, we got a couple
Good
questions
question.
left. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions left. This next question comes from CM Fool, who asks, "What's the point of light, medium, and heavy armor if it doesn't make sense in a sci-fi MMO? How much armor protects you should just be from how much the resources you use to craft it, not being these light, medium, and heavy categories." I'm going to jump on this grenade because
Yeah, go.
because I believe that the whole point of them is more of buffs and debuffs. The light armor allows you to run and doesn't drag you down as much, so you don't have stamina drain, which means that you can move faster. But it also allows you to sit in places like you can sit into like a fighter and then get out of your fighter and go fight with those light armor. Medium armor is the standard. Well, you can't really climb into a cockpit and fight it, but it gives you the balance of protection versus not draining your stamina. So it ends up being the default for most people should be at least, because it gives you enough protection with less downsides and more maneuverability than a heavy armor, but not as much maneuverability moving around as light armor. Your turn speed and all those sort of things should be reduced based off of your armor weight. And then the heavy armor gives you protection, but you should move slow. It should exhaust you faster if you're trying to move faster. You shouldn't be able to have quicker reaction speeds. It should slow you down a little bit, but you get better protection. So somebody with a heavy armor can sit there and tank heavy shots while laying down suppression fire. Right now, the problem is that heavy armor doesn't have any of those drawbacks. There's just no drawbacks to using heavy armor. I think it's a little bit of stamina drain, but there's no slowness. CIG played originally with the idea of having a restricted view, so that if you had a heavy armor, your view was like this versus wider armor. But people didn't really like that and kind of messed with the HUD, so they removed that idea. But there's definitely elements to it. It's a balanced mechanic when it comes to how each armor functions in game, and in terms of its role in game. It's like what's the difference between a light, medium, and heavy fighter? It's the roles. It's what they can do. Go ahead. Sorry.
And the heavy armor definitely has a bit of a slowdown because I've tried running that. My org leader likes to run around in what he calls murder pajamas, a very very light, all blacked out, so that he can sit in these little dark corners and just blast past things at very high speed. So if you're running a light armor build, you definitely have a speed advantage versus someone who's running in heavy. But I think personally there needs to be a little bit more of the benefit of running heavy armor needs to be more than just you can tank heavy armor or heavy shots or whatever. It needs to be more of you can deal with heat better, you can deal with environmental effects better. But then the light armor also needs to be, you make less sound, you make less you emit less EM signature, or less, you're not as detectable as easily when this wall hack FPS scanning stuff comes in. um it needs to be something with that you're maybe a little bit more stealthy, or you have less water and food drain. There need to be enough benefits to running light armor, because right now there really just aren't. That speed difference is not enough of a benefit
Mm-hmm.
that you can go, I'm going to choose to run a light build, because you take one shot from a shotgun and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I run exclusively light armor. Sorry. Now part of that is weight training myself for when the changes come, because they are coming.
Mm.
I believe in lore the main thing about a medium fighter is that you can
medium armor.
can actually wear medium armor inside a medium fighter, but all light fighters you cannot wear medium armor in the seat of a light fighter. You're gonna have to wear light armor. So I've already started wearing light armor. The downsides to light armor are pretty substantial. Environmentally, they don't give you the protection, and you go down much faster than you would. 40 at the moment, heavy armor is 40% damage reduction. You can shoot someone in the head 6 times, and they'll live with certain pistols. It's insane. So heavy armor is just much better. Doesn't come with any downsides at the moment, so everyone's just in it. There's going to come a time where you can't wear it though when you're fighters. Where you can't wear it even in the seats of your bigger ships. There are going to be ships like I don't know. I'm just going to say, I don't know this is one of them, but Constellations, which won't let you sit in the seat of those with heavy armor. You're going to have to be in your flight suit and then go get into your heavy armor. That is coming. So right now I run light armor. I think there needs to be a differential, like you discussed, Astro. Like we need to make sure that we have a difference between light, medium, and heavy. I'm looking forward to the day that wearing my light isn't a choice, but is forced upon me. I'm looking forward to that day.
And people are saying that
comes soon.
There is a speed difference. Yeah, I think Raptor talked about it, and I do agree, Bobs. I think there's a reason why they have armor cubbies in these new ships. It's not because of aesthetics, guys. It's because they want you to have a flight suit with flight gear, and then a gear for doing other actions. There's a purpose for that beyond just aesthetics. At least that's the plan. That's why everything since like the Intrepid has had those, and many of the ships have had them forever, like the Starfarer. Those gear lockers, suit lockers, are for that sort of experience, and that's the advantage of having those suit lockers, is you can have that swap out. I think it's similar to like ships. I think armor itself could use quirks. Certain armor should be good at certain things. We already have that with certain armor being more radiation resistant, some being be able to handle colder weathers, some able to have harder weathers, but also like to decrease or increase speed by a little bit, or decrease is the stamina drain even further. But then there should be some trade offs, like, yeah, you can go faster, but your armor is reduced a little bit more. So, doing the siloing thing where you have light, medium, and heavy in silos, and then each of them have their own benefits. And to the point of the question, which is crafting should make those differences, yeah, crafting could also improve those differences or change those things or add other tweaks to it. So, you know. But I know, like, right now, I'm pretty much forced into full heavy if I'm doing any FPS combat because there really isn't a downside other than, oh, well, you don't move as fast. You don't move as fast. Well, I don't have to move as fast if I put you in a corner and then shoot you to death. You know?
As someone, like I said, who runs light armor consistently, I can tell you that heavy armor is fucking busted.
Yeah.
I bump into it consistently where I will dump 3 full clips onto someone. And yes, some of it is desync and server issues, but you just spray and spray and spray. Even if it's AI, I'm not even talking versing players. Like an AI comes around the corner in full heavy, and I have to put like 3 clips into him to put him down. And then he shoots me once, and that's it. Down I go. So... which is fine. Heavy armor should be strong, but it needs to have some negatives. And it's just right now, its only negative is you move a little slower. That's its only negative right now. That's it. And it glitches with your Moby all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Someone says, "Don't tell Loken he'll shoot me. He's full heavy." I think Loken would prefer something because if you felt like an unstoppable tank in heavy armor the way you're supposed to, I think people would feel better rather than just being like, "Oh yeah, this is the default. Just wear the heavy." You know, it should feel like you should feel like heavy weapons guy when you have the heavy. So, or to use the MechWarrior analogy, I should feel like an Atlas trying to take on, you know, a tiny baby Irby, you know, that's trying to 1v1 me. But that
be careful what you say about my Irby.
But that Irby should also be able to dance around me as I'm trying to go at it because it's got lighter armor. You know, that guy in light armor should be able to get behind me before I could even get my gun on him and like slit my throat with a weapon because they're just that fast. So the heavy is more of a support class, and balance. There should be a reason for everyone to have different armors on, not just everyone carry heavy. So
agreed.
All right. Shimpasta asks, do you think, or do you feel some of CIG's choices regarding combat, flight model, etc., is CIG just testing something new, since now's the time to do this, or is they generally feel like they're going in the right direction, or that they genuinely feel like they're going in the right direction? So are they just testing things out, or do they think they're going into the right direction?
I personally think, yeah.
Which one?
I think they think they're going in the right direction, that this is the path that they're going forward. They did this with master modes. They said, all right, this is the new way forward. We're going to do master modes. We're going to do the switch. We're going to do this, that, and the other. And then the community reacted with outrage, and they said, well, okay, we'll change some things and make it a little bit more playable. I really think that with a lot of these things, someone has made a decision that says this is the way that we're going to do it, and that they're building these things to follow or to conform with that plan. Whether it's good for the game necessarily, or good for the balance or design or not, that's the way it's going to be, or that's the way they intend for it to be. And it's going to be whether it's fun and playable, and whether the community will continue to back and play it, whether that changes or not.
Pops?
I think they're doing the. I think you're right, Raptor. But to directly address that question a little bit more, I think they're doing the opposite. They're not testing really with us as much as I'd like them to be. They've got this massive player base, both across the PTU and Evo, and they're just not testing the flight model anymore, and that's our fault. We got noisy and acted like petulant childrens, and now the flight team only gives the flight tests to closed groups. very specific closed groups, and we don't get to see what's happening, and that means it comes now to live, and it feels like it has flaws, and it's not been tested properly because it hasn't been tested properly. Because when they did try and test it with us, everyone acted like petulant children, and got nasty and started threatening CIG employees and stuff. So it's the reason that they have got a little bit more closed off and they're not showing us as much as they used to is because of the way we've acted, and it's a consequence of the way that we've acted with them. So I would like them to be testing more. I would really like to see them test more in the open space, and they've done that a little bit with engineering. But I'd like to see it a whole lot more, specifically around flight model. They seem to be testing new features like crafting and engineering and all these sorts of things with the broader audience. But then, like when they're nutting down and refining and sharpening and balancing things like flight model, or like first-person combat and things like this, they're not coming to us anymore. They're doing it all behind closed doors. So I'd like to see that be tested with us a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. I do think that they're, since it's from my own interactions with CIG staff, since Rich basically said this is 1.0, this is where we're going, all of the staff have felt so much better because they're like, we actually have a vision where we're going, what's going on. So yeah, they're building it for a goal. Does that mean it's going to change? No, it could change a little bit, but it's not going to change dramatically. Like what we see is what we're going to get, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like it when they say this is a game for everyone, because my inner mantra is a game for everyone is a game for no one. Like you're gonna have to build it for somebody, and sometimes that's gonna be people who are available, and sometimes you're building it for people who don't know your game exists yet, and that's gonna suck for the people who buying your game now, the playing the game now for what it is. So, all right. So we've got a couple more questions. I'll try to get through these pretty quickly because we are over an hour, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. Daft Zippo asks, I tested out the Tracker Hornet Mark II yesterday to see if there were any actual differences in Tracker module equipped, and did not notice a difference. Do you think that's a better radar for? Do you think it'll be better radar for close range target scanning, or only for long range target scanning? And when do you think they'll be fully implemented? The easiest answer is we don't know about the ranges, but it's probably going to be combat, whatever it's related to. It might be both short, medium, and long range is improved, but we won't know until scanning's in. When scanning gameplay is in, the new scanning gameplay, which is technically the FPS scanning gameplay, but it's an overhaul of the entire scanning gameplay, that's when we'll know what it'll actually be. And as far as we know, CIG has talked a lot about scanning in the past, but they stopped talking about it in the middle of last year. So it seems like it may or may not be this year. I have a feeling it'll be this year, only because I think CIG's going to try to get as much parity between Star Citizen and Squadron as possible, and that scanning system exists in Squadron.
I think so too.
So,
yeah. I'd only add to that would be that it is a fighter. And though it has quite a large scanner on it, I would assume that they would want the fighter for shorter range stuff, the Terrapin for medium range stuff, and then something like a Carrack for longer range. So just due to sizing and scaling. But again, we just don't know. We have no idea.
Anything to
Hopefully the tracker name, hopefully the tracker name indicates that it's more for like bounty hunter targets or something where you can go, all right, this is something that I'm tracking so that it's more localized or specialized towards one target or maybe a fleet of targets, and so the scope is narrower but can extend a long distance, versus something like the Terrapin or the Carrack that can extend its range out very, very broadly.
Yeah, I agree. And the only thing I can add is the one thing that all of these things are missing, which is linked
Yes.
Sensors. Like that's the big thing that is sort of never been addressed, is that all of these things need to be able to link sensors together so that you can take your fighter over here and your fighter over here and your gunship over here, and you can take all of those feeds and feed it back to a place which could then feed back all that information back to them so they can see each other even though they're nowhere near each other. And some org
paint
leader
targets and things like this.
Yeah, paint targets, and there's some org leader or some on a Idris somewhere is taking a look at all this information and going, what's going on here? We need to send in these guys over here. We need the actual planning and strategy sort of sessions to make sense. And I think that's
The
that's
Polaris's big hollow globe there finally has a use for it.
yeah. Commander mode in Battlefield is a great way of explaining that for people who played the Battlefield Commander mode, or to a lesser degree the Zeus system in Arma. You know, that sort of like big view of the combat. So, all right. Escape asks, as combat aficionados, what is some weapon variety you want to see? FPS weapons or ship weapons?
Oh, is he saying, do we want FPS or ship, or what kind of
Like do you want to
ship?
do we want to see a lot more variety of weapons? Because like do you want to see people? Because right now people like default to like the Scorpions or something like that. Like how much weapon variety do you want to see in ship weapons? And do you want to see more variety in ship weapons or FPS weapons?
Ship weapons. Yeah. I want to see repeaters. I want to see cannons, and I want to see shotguns. I want to see long range weapons. I want to see short range weapons. I want to see fully automatic. I want to see burst fire. There's no burst fire weapons in the game yet. I want to see weapons that peel off armor, peel off shield, do both, balance between armor and shield. Distortions that have, maybe there's distortions that do more damage to shield and less distortion, or whatever it might be. There's so much room for variety. It's literally a make believe world. You could do whatever you want. Right? It's a fantasy world. Go look at Star Wars. Go look at Star Trek. Go look at Battlestar Galactica. Go
There
look
should
at
be
Hyperion
electric
Cantos. Go look
guns.
at New Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's literally a made up Wibble world with bark tree people and flying space turtles. We can do whatever we want. So let's broaden our horizons and have a whole bunch of sweet guns.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
I guess personally, I like to see a reason to have that variety. I mean,
Mhm.
for the most part, especially with today's balance, is you run ballistics. Yeah, you run a ballistic Gatling specifically, you know. So if we're going to have diversity in various different ship weapons, which I would like to see, but we need to have a reason to use them. You know, we need to have a reason to run with the lasers and distortions, or distortions and ballistics, or whatever. It can't just be, well, you fit it with a couple of rail guns and a laser loadout because that's just what is the best. We need to have a reason to have that diversity. And then once that reason is there, yes, having a broad selection of something, because that again plays into the balance, where you might have someone who's a light fighter that goes, oh, I run ballistic Gatling guns because they do the max DPS at a short amount of time. But you have someone who's in their freelancer and they go, yes, but I can run my scatter guns here, EMP scatter gun or whatever. And your light fighter comes in and gets too close, and I just have to go boop, and that's it. And now I can hit you with my other turret over here and have a reason to run those more specialized weapons.
All right. This next question is sort of a two-part question, so I'm going to combine both of them together. Gin and Tonic asks, panel members, when you disable a ship, will you leave it alone, or will you continue to fire on it until it explodes? Like when we're able to disable a ship. And same question, but with ejected pilots of crewmen in escape pods, would you let them be or execute them? Basically, this is a question that's been going on in my community for a while, which I'll explain for a little bit, which is, if there was a situation where you could completely disable a ship, would you continue, knowing that it's disabled for now, would you continue?
Not reactivating?
It's not reactivating. It's out of the way. It's going to take some time for it to actually get itself back up and running. Would you continue to fire at that ship until it explodes, and or would you attack a ship if people were abandoning the ship after it had been destroyed or after it had been disabled? Go ahead.
I can answer this easy. I've answered this, I think, on your podcast last time I was here. Yes, I would continue to shoot the ship if I was in an org and that was an enemy org ship, and I was doing sufficient economic damage to them by destroying that ship or killing that pilot. And vice versa, if we have Death of the Spaceman and an ace pilot from an enemy org ejects and shoots himself out of his ship, if I kill that ace pilot and strip away all his reputation and skills, I'm doing sufficient and palpable damage to the enemy org. So in those instances, I would absolutely continue to fire on their ships and absolutely continue to fire on the pilot that is ejected from it. However, I'm not in orgs, so I would never do that. I would shoot a ship. If it's disabled, I fly away. So I'm not in orgs because I don't want to have to engage in that kind of gameplay. I would just shoot their ship. If it's disabled, it's disabled. If they eject, they eject. I mean, we do that right now where we're around exec hangars. We shoot a Gladius. The guy in the Gladius punches out. You see him shoot out the top, and we go, all right, he's gone. Move on to the next target. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think for me personally, it's more of a threat neutralization. So, if I'm running with my old mates or whatever, and we're defending an area, we're locking it down so that we can run cargo into it or whatever. As long as I can be assured that ship or the players in it are no longer a threat, leave them alone. At the best, if they decide to eject out of it and leave it alone, that's an opportunity for my salvager crew to come in and go, "Oh, we get free materials out of all this." But it's like, if as long as in a combat sense, at least, as long as they're no longer a threat, there's not any reason for me to continue to an ultimate hard death, because it's like I'm more interested in going, there are still threats over here that I can take care of. Let's get them out of the way first and then go, all right, we've got the battlefield cleared.
But
The-
on that
Good from
note,
here.
right now, and I'm sure you do this too, Raptor. If we're in a fight and a Hornet becomes disabled, and there's a bunch of us, we say someone stay here and continue to shoot it till it explodes. Because right now that Hornet can press a button and in 30 seconds be operating again.
Yeah,
That
operating
constellation can press a button and in 1 minute be operating again. That
and then it's
I don't know,
invincible.
Perseus can press a button and it's invincible when it reactivates. It literally is invincible when it reactivates. So right
Didn't
now,
realize that.
if we disable your Perseus, we're going to sit there and shoot it till it explodes. Because we don't have the option of disabling you for 5 to 10 minutes. If I could shoot that Perseus and know that it is shut down for 10 minutes, then I would stop shooting it, because I can come back to it
Yeah.
after the fight and go, "How you going in there, guys? You repairing?" Plus, it makes for a really interesting gameplay loop. If it's shut down for 10 minutes and then their engineers can decrease that 10 down to 4 or 3 or 5 by working hard as engineers, that's an amazing gameplay loop where they're all stressing and trying to fix their ship. But as it stands, the fact that a Hornet can just reactivate, an Arrow can just reactivate, even if they weren't invincible, having an Arrow reactivate and sneak back into the fight, even with 100 HP left. I've soloed 7 or 8 players with an Arrow with 100 HP. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can't risk that Arrow reactivating and coming back to the fight, because
Coming
it
back.
will come back and it will be combat effective and it will take one of you by surprise and kill you. So right now, every single ship that's disabled in a combat situation needs to be completely destroyed and annihilated. And until the time it takes for a ship to be reactivated is extended, every single org, every single PvPer will consistently blow you out of the sky. Until we can confirm the kill on your ship in a way that it's not going to become a threat, they're going to be full sending your ships. And we're currently doing that at the moment.
The discussion came from my belief that explosions are less fun than disabling.
Wrong.
I think it's more fun and it's more engaging to disable a ship versus, I think I said it wrong. Disabling a ship is better than explosions, only because it gives the player who you've disabled a chance to repair and recover, so it engages them in the gameplay. Versus an explosion, when you blow up, what happens? Oh no, I go back to my thing, I'm dead, I'm gonna go get my ship back, and I'm gonna wait here for 15 minutes while my ship comes back, and then I'm gonna go fuck around, do something. Like, you're just doing nothing. It's just, you're out of the combat, you're done, unless somebody else disengages and goes to help you out, and that's just travel time. It's not combat. It's not engaging gameplay.
People have this idea in their head that they'll be fixing their solo constellation. But Paul, when Maelstrom comes in, that constellation's going to be cut in half.
Yeah.
You're not going to be floating around.
No.
People think that, there's not going to be explosions. Yeah, there's not going to be explosions because half of your constellation's going to be floating off into the distance, and that part with the power plant will explode, and you're in the front cockpit now in the front of a constellation. So yeah, explosions aren't fun, but seeing a ship come apart is, and seeing the back end of a ship explode is quite rewarding. When I used to chase down arrows and see them pop, that was sweet. Right now, when I see like 15 wrecks at the end of a fight and they all look identical because there's pieces don't really blow off of them, it all just looks like a bunch of white markers gathered all around my screen. They hit the ground and they don't come apart. There's just Idrises laying upside down and
bouncing,
Polaris
yeah.
resting on their engines and stuff. Like that's I would prefer to see that Idris hit the ground and explode until Maelstrom comes in, rather than just lay upside down on its back like a beached
At least
whale.
clear the server load.
Yeah, exactly. But I agree. What you're saying, Paul, is that when a ship is disabled, there's more emergent gameplay that comes from being able to interact with them and chat to their engineers and try and get the ship running and stuff again. And I agree in as much as that, for sure. So.
And in that
Potential boarding gameplay too.
That's what I was gonna say. And then it allows for players to go, do I board this ship or not? Do I take the risk and get out and try to board this ship and possibly get killed or not? Is it worth that effort?
Yeah, for sure.
And my theory, my stuff, and I get what you're saying, which is like, with Maelstrom you can saw an Idris in half, with the right damage. Which is, yeah, you could, or like a Constellation half. But that should be taking some time and effort to saw an Idris or a Constellation in half. Yeah. If you saw a Constellation in half, you're just gonna be like, I should get out of this ship before it explodes.
Yeah. Guy inside goes, okay, time to go.
Yeah.
The problem is that right now that there's no way to really make a ship explode. That's the problem, and there should be. So there was an issue when engineering first came through where you just shoot a power plant and a ship would go up like that.
Yeah,
that's no good. We don't want that. Okay, we don't want that. But there needs to be a way for me to, if I can focus target a section on your ship, I can send it critical. That needs to be in the game, and it's not at the moment. And so if we go to like a Hathor or a executive hangar, or even just like outside space stations, and you want to clean up the wrecks that are outside there, like I said, you shoot sabers with 400,000 damage, and they're still not dead. I can't make them explode no matter how hard I try, and that's not fun.
No,
bring the Reclaimer boys.
Well,
even the Reclaimer can't do it.
Yeah, what it needs to be is that, like, I personally believe that there should always be a chance of explosion when you hit the power plant, but it should be a percentage chance based off of things like health, based off of the repair status of it, and other things like that. So, like, eventually everything will explode, but like, it shouldn't be something where I can, like, I'm an ace pilot and I can snipe your power plant once from a distance and you just go up like a fireball. Like
that shouldn't be in there. No, that shouldn't be in there. Exactly. So in lore, you tell me this, Paul. In lore, power plants can go critical and detonate. Right?
Oh yeah, easily. They're fusion plants.
So every single ship has a power plant in it.
Yeah.
So every single ship should be able to go critical. Explosion. I'm not saying they should 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But if the power plant is there and it's in the ship and I can find it and shoot it, it should go up. But then again, and that also is an interesting, is one of those things where, like, it requires it awards skill. If you want to see something blow up and you want to make sure this person isn't going around, you better know how to A, find the power plant, and B, hit that thing. And that becomes, again, a more of a process of gameplay and skill, and that is a lot. It's a lot more skilled to say, I'm going to you scythe down this person's power plant, then I'm just going to point my pip at them and shoot until they stop moving, So for sure.
Yeah. Potentially there's enough fuel left in that, in the ship for it to go critical.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a flame reaction or something that goes down lots of things that can factor in.
All right, last question comes from CM Fool, who asks, how long should capital spaceship battles usually last? For example, if an Idris fighter, Idris, or Polaris fighter, Polaris. Okay, I think he's saying
versus
Idris versus Idris or Polaris versus Polaris. Should they last 1 hour or should they be over in 5 minutes? My completely
slip call.
Like, I do not know this answer. I will say the quickest. My solution to that is, it should matter however long it takes it should be. If a skilled pilot and skilled crew can take out another crew pretty quickly by taking out the engines or the power core, then that should last minutes. If it's two people smacking each other, over and over again, then it should take hours. It's really just up to whoever is skilled.
To me, it comes down entirely to cost it takes to replace components and the time it takes to replace that capital ship. Right now, a Polaris comes back in 18 minutes.
What?
18 minutes and you get a Polaris
What?
back.
That should be 18 hours.
That's what I'm saying. 18 minutes. There are medium gunships that take longer than a Polaris. So, a Polaris should last 6 minutes in a fight. At this stage with that sort of cooldown timer. However, if a Polaris has a week-long cooldown, being that it's a capital ship, then sure, it should take an hour to work that thing down. Longer, 2 hours. It should sit there and be a brick. It should be able to escape so that it can be prepared.
Yeah.
Right. So I think ultimately what it comes down to is the length of time it takes for a ship to be claimed or repaired.
Yeah.
Should severely influence how long a capital ship lasts in a fight, from my perspective. Because right now, sorry, just to finish my point, this is a real frustration for me, so I'm just going to finish this point. Right now, it gives me the shits that I spend an hour and a half killing an Idris. If I want to kill it, most of the time the pilot just backspaces and goes and grabs another one anyway. That's what they do. They just get up, backspace, and go to get their next Idris. But it gives me the shits when we spend the time, we do it properly. We bring the Mantis, we bring the distortions, we shut it down, we torp it with a Polaris, and it goes up. And then I see the same name, the exact same name of the same guy arrive literally within 2 minutes, because when he summoned his first Idris, he left it outside, went inside, hit the claim timer so that his next one was ready to just get his next Idris. By the way, Idris cooldown timers are about 38 to 40 minutes. So 40 minutes for the strongest ship in the game is far too short. They should have... Yep.
Yeah, so I guess personally... Go ahead. Yeah.
No, you go.
Personally, I think, like Bob said, it's got to be relative to the power that ship projects and the value that it provides to the fleet. So, if I'm taking out an Idris with my fleet, I've brought along a couple of torpedo bombers, and I've brought along a fighter wing, and I've brought along a refueler to make sure that all of those things got everything. I've got my ammo ship and all that kind of stuff, and I'm taking out a full fleet complement to go out and do a big mission or something. That capital ship needs to be, number one, valuable enough in a fleet engagement that I want to bring it out. Because right now we're really only using them as a PDC, as a anchor, because I can stick 4 guys in the turret that don't know how to fly, and they can provide a little bit of ballistic or a little bit of laser power to knock out some fighters or whatever. But it's mostly just there as an area denial tool. In the future, when that's more of I'm using this as a fleet or a base of operations, I'm flying my fighters into it to be rearmed and refueled, and I'm basing out of it, we're logging out and all that kind of stuff. The time to kill or time to disable a ship that big should be anywhere from, if you have a really, really skilled crew who know what they're doing, somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, to take something out like that. And if it's, a couple of bozos who don't know what they're doing, I should be able to sit there all day, and in 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, because they don't know what they're doing. And they're just sitting there and dying and respawning, or just wailing away, hoping to get a chink through my shields or something. But for that to work, then we also need to have it where if I lose that Idris, I'm waiting a week and a half before that's battle ready again, because the manufacturing plant over there in Crusader or wherever the things are made, Idris or whatever, they've got to actually go through the process of making those. They've got to purchase the materials. They've got to have all their engineers put everything together, all the background or whatever. But to in-law justification for that, it needs to be very, very powerful and very, very expensive, so that if I'm bringing my Idris out, it is with the understanding that this is a very, very large force multiplier. It's a very, very durable, so that I have a relatively good chance of this thing surviving the engagement. But if I get my butt kicked, that thing is out of commission for enough time that it hurts.
Consequence.
Yeah.
Needs to be consequence.
Need to be some consequences, because right now it's just, we'll just respawn it, and 18 minutes later I'm going to bring out my super destroyer again.
Nobody should be able to solo a Idris as a normal daily driver. That should never be a thing, and it is right
Amen.
now.
Preach it.
Right. Amen. Yes, yes, yes. And also just to add to it, right now that they've added the Idris into the game as an item that can be picked up from Wicklow, you might kill Daddy Idris and then Daddy Idris's second Idris, but then Daddy's friend Tommy has a Wicklow Idris and he's claimed his second Wicklow Idris, so you'll chain fight for Idrises. We went to Hathor and killed I think 56 players that kept running at us in fighters. Or something close to that. I can't remember what it was. Zippo, you might remember. But their like final solution that they decided to come up with was to all come in individual capital ships. So we had 3 Idrises, 2 Polarises, whatever, and it just becomes big ship pumper cars. None of the guns are firing on these capital ships because there's no one in the seats of any of the turrets. They're literally just running into each other because they can't win in fighters, so they just decide to bring their capitals, and they can't win in capitals either. And they just start crashing into each other.
That's not fun.
It's not fun. It also ruins my immersion. It ruins the game. It puts stress on the servers. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. That's it. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but like a capital ship should feel like a special thing. It should feel like a special.
For sure, I agree.
Thing. It seems cheap if it's just everyone can just solo polo or solo Idris. You know.
Yep.
Alrighty.
100%.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Bops and Raptor X for sharing their expertise and their time with us. Make sure you check them out on Twitch and YouTube under the same names. And of course, it's Bops on Twitch and YouTube, Raptor X on Twitch and YouTube. But there's also Good
Clean Gaming RX is my main channel.
Yes, check that out.
Kind of being retired at this point, I think.
Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this, make sure you join us twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/@the-captain's-table-podcast, where you can come join and ask your own questions to future guests. And if you did enjoy this, make sure you follow us on Spotify, subscribe to us on Spotify, as well as on the Captain's Table podcast as well. Thank you for joining us. And like I say every time, I hope to see you someday in the black.